And so a lot of people, like, they don't know where to start. They don't know what foods to eat on a plant-based diet. So here are just a few. Again, these are just a few. There's so many foods that you can incorporate and include in your pantry, fridge, and freezer. But we just wanted to go over a few and show you what are some staples and what are things that Hossa and I always love to have on hand as well. If you were to join our program, we have a much more comprehensive list that we share with people. So for staples in your pantry, things that we always recommend: beans. You can never have enough beans. And one thing that I like to have is I always have dried beans, which are very inexpensive. And I also have canned beans. So if I don't have time to cook those dried beans, then at least I have those canned beans and I can just drain them, rinse them, and then throw them in a salad or throw them in a wrap, or you name it. Beans are so versatile. And beans also are going to provide a ton of protein on a plant-based diet. So people, the protein in beans often goes overlooked. So it's definitely such a great source of protein to include in a plant-based diet. Brown rice, it's a whole grain. It has lots of fiber. That's something you definitely want to keep in your pantry, and you can buy the instant brown rice if you're running low on time. We have become very big fans of bean pasta. So this is a relatively new product that came out in the last few years, but one of them is Explore, as you can see here. Another very popular brand is called Bonza. So here, if you don't know which one I'm referring to, it's right here, this black bean spaghetti. And then Bonza, which is another company, they have chickpea pasta. And, it is delicious. I promise. Like, you could maybe, but barely taste the difference between that and regular pasta. But you're also getting the fiber and the protein that beans give you. So if you want to try pasta, a healthier version, we definitely recommend checking out all the different variations of bean pastas. And then quinoa, that's another really great whole grain that's absolutely so good to add to your lunches and your dinners to help you feel satiated after your meals. We're a big fan of oats. We have oats. Hossa's been here in Boulder for the last week, and I think we've had oats every single day for breakfast. So good. So filling too. Like, when you have a nice filling breakfast like oats, you will feel so much more satisfied throughout the whole day. So you won't have those afternoon cravings or feel really fatigued in the afternoon. The beauty of like starting your day with a high fiber food is sustained energy throughout the day. So give it a try. Steel cut oats with berries. If you want to add some protein powder in there, you can. You can add some nuts, some seeds, make it delicious. Talking about seeds, chia and flax seeds are great sources of those healthy fats that we want in our diet. They also have a ton of fiber, which is a very important nutrient that most Americans don't eat enough of. So you can add chia seeds and flax seeds to your oats, to smoothies. You can sprinkle them on meals. They're just another great way to keep you nice and satiated. And they're also a great source of omega-3s. So also in your pantry, just for to make dressings and to make seasonings and stuff, we definitely recommend having all sorts of vinegars. So balsamic vinegar, apple cider vinegar. You can have some white wine vinegar, and then spices. Some of the most delicious meals that we make are so basic. We'll just do beans, some grains, some veggies, and then some of the spices we'll add are just salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, dried oregano. So feel free to get creative with your spices. Use those, and they also have a ton of nutritional benefits as well. So don't be afraid to spice up your foods with what's in your cupboard. And then always having like a pasta sauce on hand is nice too, so that when you do need to whip up something quick, you can throw together that bean pasta I talked about and some tomato sauce, throw some frozen veggies in there, and you have yourself a quick, easy meal. So yeah, just loading up your pantry with staples like this will ensure that you have healthy foods that you can quickly get out of your pantry whenever you need to. Moving on to the fridge and freezer, of course, filling up your fridge with lots of veggies. As you can see, this beautiful fridge here in the middle. A plant-based diet, you are going to be eating a lot more vegetables. So feel free to really stock up because you'll go through them, and that's a good thing. A lot of our members will actually join a CSA or, they'll find something local in their area where they could grab veggies each week. And so it's kind of like a habit and a routine where every week they're getting a new box of veggies so that they're never low. And that's something I do as well. And that ensures that I always have kind of like this constant supply of veggies that I can always rely on. And then, you can choose your favorite non-dairy milk. There's so many of them now. So that's an easy switch that you can make from, your regular cow's milk to almond milk or soy milk, rice milk. The only thing we do recommend is definitely choosing the unsweetened variation. So making sure there's no added sugar in those. And then there's lots of like different dips out there, like hummus. Hummus makes a great snack with some baby carrots. So keeping some hummus in your fridge or some guac. They have little 100-calorie guacamole packs, which are just made of avocado and a few different spices. I actually have some in my fridge right now, and I'll put that on top of salads and stuff like that and use that as my dressing.
They're really, really good.
Yeah, they're so good. And I buy them at Costco. Like Costco is Costco and Sam's are great places to buy. You can get so many of these items in bulk too. So it's a lot cheaper, which is good. And then veggie broth, as we had mentioned before, oil tends to contribute a lot of calories with very little nutrients. So trying to replace oil with other options is a very good way to also help you with your reversal of diabetes. So one way you could do that is by using veggie broth in place of oil when you're cooking. And you may think that's really weird and really odd, but we promise you it's not that bad. It actually tastes really good. You just kind of do the same sort of thing. Pour the veggie broth in first, heat it up a little bit, and then throw your veggies or whatever it is that you're sauteing. And it's a great substitute. And veggie broth has very little calories. So give that a try. And something we also have started doing too is using an air fryer. We actually made tofu with no oil in the air fryer. We've actually made it for quite a few days now. We just put it in the air fryer for about 20 minutes on each side at 400, and it comes out you flip it and then you do the other side, and it comes out so crispy and delicious, and you don't need any oil at all for it.
So good. And another thing that I saw in your kitchen is nutritional yeast.
Oh,
Can you talk about that and how good that is?
So nutritional yeast it's basically just an inactive yeast, and you can add it to all sorts of foods. It has a cheesy flavor. So if you are missing cheese at all, nutritional yeast is such a great alternative. People get turned off because of the name yeast, but you need to just forget about that part. It's delicious. It's good for you. It has B12 in it. It has a lot of different B vitamins. So definitely give it a try. And sometimes I'll make a cheese sauce as well. And what I'll do is I'll combine like cashews and a little bit of almond milk with nutritional yeast and blend that all up with a few other spices like garlic and salt and stuff. And you can use that as like a cheese sauce replacement and put that on top of pasta or your salads, whatever it is that you want to use it. So again, like I said before, plant-based cooking opens up a whole new world. Like you will be very shocked about how many things you can make that will taste delicious and will also be healthier versions of what you used to love to eat before. Like you figure out what you like to eat, and I promise you there is a healthy, delicious plant-based version of it that you can make. And lastly, your freezer. So a lot of people think frozen foods aren't as nutritionally dense as fresh, but that's not the case. They are just as nutritious. So if you can't buy fresh blueberries every week, which I cannot, so I just buy a big bag of frozen berries, and I use that for my oatmeal. And that's a great substitute, or that's a great way to get fruit in without having to spend a ton of money on like berries and stuff. So fruit, frozen veggies, all are really great options to always have in your freezer, so that if you don't have fresh on hand, you can always just grab from there. And lastly, on here we also have some black bean burgers. Again, if you're in a pinch and you don't have time to cook, having some frozen foods like this, like a black bean burger, is a great way to still get a nice, healthy, plant-based meal in.
Let me just mention that it is very important to read the ingredients. And that's actually something that we teach in our program. We have a whole lecture on how to read the ingredients to make sure that this food is healthy for you. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of black bean burgers out there in the market, if you look at the ingredients list, they are made with lots of vegetable oil, with binders such as eggs, and yeah, some other unhealthful binders that are not needed in order to make a burger tasty. So that brand that you see right there, Engine 2, is actually just beans. I'm pretty sure it has some like oats, I think, as a binder, and water. It's as simple as that, and it's delicious. I've tried it myself. So you don't have to buy that brand, but make sure that you read the ingredients lists on any packaged food that you buy.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Making sure you read those labels. And that is something that we, of course, teach in our course as well in our program, becoming familiar with nutrition labels so that you feel confident in making decisions when you're at the grocery store. So you know exactly what to do and what to look out for. And we've kind of gone over this already, but these are some of the foods that really do contribute to that insulin resistance, the underlying cause of type 2 diabetes, and foods that you really do want to eliminate or really limit in order to really make huge strides in reversing your type 2 diabetes. So to start, we have those saturated fats, which mainly come from animal products, as you can see here: eggs, chicken, meat, dairy. Dairy is a huge one, butter, and some oils will contain saturated fat as well. So just very important foods to really try to avoid or limit. And you have your added sugars. So what happens with added sugars is, they contain no nutrients at all. So it's basically just eating, you're just eating white sugar. You're just eating calories basically with no nutrients at all. So, and in fact, these added sugars do the opposite of those micronutrients we just talked about. They cause inflammation, and they can cause weight gain when you eat too much of them. And then processed grains, we talked about. Processed grains include those refined grains. These grains basically have been processed down and stripped of all their nutrients. And then you're left with kind of this white flour that's made and built into other foods like crackers and white bread and white pastas. So all those nutrients we just talked about, all of these grains are devoid of them, and you're just left with a starch basically, and probably going to see some significant spikes in your glucose after eating these foods. And if you eat a lot of them over time, then they will also contribute to insulin resistance. And then salt and sodium, a lot of Americans eat or consume way too much sodium. It's actually found in a lot of animal products. People don't realize that, even buying chicken at the grocery store contains a ton of sodium, because the chickens are injected with a saline solution to clean them. And it's not even labeled on the chicken. So you're eating so much sodium just by eating a chicken that you buy at the grocery store. And then deli meats, of course, as well, contain so much. So does cheese. A lot of processed foods, they're able to have a long shelf life because of all the sodium that's been added to them. So you definitely want to eat whole foods as much as possible because they don't have that sodium. And too much sodium, what happens is it can cause an increase in blood pressure, and especially if that's coupled with a low potassium, which is found in whole foods, whole fruits and veggies. So that combination can be deadly, if left untreated. So just be careful with sodium. A lot of those packaged foods will contain a lot of that. And then lastly, this was Angie. She just had such amazing progress in our program. She dropped over 20 pounds through the 10 weeks. So she was such a great example of someone who went through our program, open-minded, ready to make changes. She was ready to be diabetes free. That was her goal. And she followed our approach and she made it happen. She went from an A1C of in the 10% to all the way down to 5.5%. So huge drop. And as you can see here in red, she wrote, "I can proudly attest that reversing type 2 diabetes has guided and provided me with a better quality of life." So, if you're willing, like she said, if you're willing to commit and invest in your health and commit to our program, you will see results and you will not regret it.
Angie is a superstar. She literally applied all the knowledge that we're sharing with you right now. She applied it and then she got these results. I don't know if you mentioned here, Diana, but she also lost 21 pounds during this 10-week period, which is fantastic. I mean, you can just see the before and after. And we had an interview with her. She told us that she has never felt this way. Her energy levels skyrocketed. She was taking insulin, and she was taking
insulin and metformin,
and she was able to completely let go of those medications by the end of the program. So just imagine that: perfect blood glucose, amazing weight loss, looking great, no more medications. It's just amazing.
Yeah. And she said she understands now. She understands what caused that in the first place and what she needs to do in order to prevent it from ever coming back. So again, having that understanding and education just goes such a long way. Oh, so yeah, as you can see, she got off her insulin, she got off her metformin, and she lost 21 pounds. And that was just through the course of our program. So if she can see these changes, so can you. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching our presentation. We really hope you enjoyed it and learned a few things. The most important thing is to really just take action.